When you give me the thumbs up, we're ready? Great. Welcome to the Village Boardroom for the Village Board meeting for Monday, January 12th, 2026. It's 6:02 p.m. If everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Trustee Wojka, I think you volunteered to do the land acknowledgement. If you'd take care of that, please.
Sure thing. Before we begin this evening, we'd like to recognize the Seneca Nation on whose ancestral territory we are gathering. The present-day village of Fairport sits on traditional Seneca land. The Seneca Nation, with the Mohawk, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, and Tuscarora, make up the sovereign Haudenosaunee Confederacy. With respect, we acknowledge the people of the Seneca Nation on whose land we now live. We honor their past, present, and future contributions to and stewardship of this land.
Thank you. Megan, would you take roll call, please?
Trustee Briggs,
Here.
Trustee Bonaski,
Evening.
Trustee Wojka,
Here.
Trustee Nazarian.
Here.
Our two student advisors,
You forgot me.
Xander and, Mayor Donwarez, I'm so sorry.
I'm here. That's okay.
And our two student advisors.
We're both here.
Thank you. Okay. If anybody has joined us this evening and has plans to speak during Citizens Forum, I was tied up, so I didn't keep doing the loop before we got started. But if you would like to speak during Citizens Forum, please come on over here and you'll have just a minute to sign up if there's anybody who hasn't signed up yet. We're all set? Okay. Then let me read the guidelines for public comment, and then we'll go ahead and get started. The public may speak only during the citizens' forum and at any other time the majority of the board allows. Speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer. Speakers must step to the front of the room. Speakers must limit their remarks to 5 minutes unless a majority of the board allows them additional time. So I'll just gently remind everybody, try and keep yourself to 5 minutes. Speakers may not yield any remaining time that they have to another speaker. All remarks will be addressed to the board as a body, not to individual board members. And the board may be addressed with written communications. All written communications shall be submitted to the clerk treasurer at mac@fairport.ny. You can find the clerk treasurer's address on our website at fairportny.com. Letters will not be read, but they will be added to the meeting minutes. So if anybody's attending this evening with carrying a letter from somebody else, when you come up, you can give that to Megan. And with that, all speakers must observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. No cheering, intimidating behavior, or clapping. And I think that's everything. So do we have anybody on the list, Megan?
The first person is Lynn. I'm having trouble with the last name, but from 54 Little Brigands Circle.
I think she's right here. Yep, please come on up, and you can come right up to the microphone and address the board. And if you would state your name and your address.
My name is Lynn Mazurkowitz. It's 54 Little Brigands, Fairport, New York, 14450. You got it? Hi, I appreciate you letting me speak today. I'm coming in as a neighbor of Fairport Police Department. I'm coming in because I have great concerns for the safety of the police officers in Fairport. I believe that they are seriously lacking in numbers. I believe that their lives are put at risk every single day. And I'm going to give you a small segment of why I know that. My husband was killed almost 4 years ago in the line of duty, and it took 27 seconds And I know this because I watched it more times than I can tell you in court. It took 57 seconds from the moment the gentleman who left the steps, crossing the street, going behind houses, and he was able to ambush and kill my husband and his partner. The reason I'm concerned with the number.
I'm going to pause you for just 1 second. It sounds like we just lost Lynn's microphone, and I want to make sure that everything gets recorded. Is it still on and still working? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure that we get it.
I'm stepping back too, so if, oh,
If you
I have
say
a le-
test,
hello?
oh,
yep.
it's working.
He said his batteries are low.
Okay.
Many times, there are not very many.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
He's, let him change the batteries, and I just want to make sure that we get all of your comments. There's a ghost in the microphone that kills batteries.
Oh, hey, he lives at my house too. Plus, I have 3 grandkids.
Lynn, would you back up to, you were at about 57 seconds? And I just want to make sure that we fully grasp your comments.
Okay. I'm going to back up.
That's
Where?
fine. That's fine.
The moral to that is I watched how long it took from the time my husband was shot till his backup got there. Granted, it's a little different scenario because he was on an undercover position, so he had cars with him. But my point is there was somebody there within seconds. And here, many times, right now, you do not have, at this particular time, there is no police officer working. There is one sergeant on right now. That's not okay. His closest backup is East Rochester or Monroe County Sheriff. They would not get here in those 57 seconds. And that's not okay. It should not be okay with any of you to allow this to happen. You've got an acting chief who is amazing, who the men will follow and do for, but they don't have enough bodies. They need more bodies. And I know that it probably sounds silly for me to come in and say that, but I've got personal experience. It's like that. My husband worked for 30 years and never had a problem. It took 1 bullet, 2. And it shouldn't take any. It should, and the average public, you don't know. You don't know what goes on every single day in a police department. The majority of people think there are no gangs, no nothing. There's blood and Crips. That's who killed my husband. They're here. They're in Fairport. And now with the number of bars that are in Fairport, 2 or 3 officers working alone, it's only getting worse because the clientele that are coming in from different areas. So my bigger concern is what can the board do to aid the police department hiring more people? I understand budget concerns, but again, a life is not, it's not okay. And you need a strong leader. You need men who will follow, and women who follow that leader. And I think you've got an amazing leader right now. I think Barnes was an amazing leader. And I think that you need to feed off of that, all of you. And I guess my challenge would be, please, all of you, do that, because you've got men who are on this force, who are willing to come here every day, who put their lives at risk every single day. And again, my husband was a police officer for 30 years. he was retiring. And I'm alone now. And that's not something parents want, kids want, anything. So my thing is, look at your budget. Add more police officers because they deserve to be protected. And I believe my challenge to all of you, protect them, help them. Because, again, you don't want what happened in my situation to happen here. It destroys many, many lives, it wasn't just mine. So that's really all I had to say.
Thank you so much for coming this
Thank you.
evening and sharing. And you have our deepest condolences.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Okay, Megan, who's next on the list?
The next person, first name is Ted, and I'm having trouble with the last name and the address, so if you could clarify it. For Cirrus?
Come on up. Can you read the spelling, or you just weren't sure about the pronunciation? I just want to make sure that she can add it to the record.
Yeah. Frissiras. 52 Enderbury Circle, Fairport, 14450.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Please go ahead and get started.
Yeah, echo her concerns. But also, I'd just like to say thank you for all of your efforts, for always listening and trying to do your best to take in the concerns of take in the concerns of the citizens and the people. So that's really my full thrust. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
That was short and sweet.
Sweet.
Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Megan.
There's no more.
Oh, okay. Then that will close. So we did have written communications from Gabe McNaughton, and that will be added to the record. And everybody has a copy of that in their email already. So thank you all for coming this evening to speak. Let's move from Citizens Forum to unfinished business. So item number 1 is a motion by the village board to approve the meeting minutes of December 8th, 2025, the village board meeting. So before we get started, Adam was not here and Sarah was not here. So it's Tracy, Heidi, and Julie. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
By trustee Wojtka,
Second.
by trustee Briggs. Any questions or comments? Then all in favor? Aye. Anybody abstaining?
Aye.
Great. Then that will carry. Item number 2 is a motion by the village board to approve the meeting minutes of January 6th, 2026, the village board annual organizational meeting. Can I have a motion and a second? Everybody was here.
So moved.
By trustee Briggs,
Second.
by trustee Benoski. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That will be unanimous, which will take us to new business. So item number 1 under new business is a motion to introduce local law number 1 of 2026 to override the tax levy limit established in the general municipal law, section 3-C, and to set the public hearing for the proposed local law number 1 of 2026 on February 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
By trustee Wojtka,
Second.
by trustee Nazarian. And so we do this every year. Brian, would you like to give a brief explanation of what local law, why do we do this every year with local law number 1?
We do this every year associated with, we are about to commence our budget process for the fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget. And state law has instituted a tax cap which essentially states the tax levy or the amount of money raised by taxes alone that's going to be forthcoming and proposed in the budget may not rise more than 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower, which this year will be 2%. So before we get into that process, we kind of need to know, we don't know where we're going to end up in the next 2 or 3 months by doing so. So the board authorizes the ability to override the tax levy if needed, right? Based on what's going to be proposed and what's happening in your deliberations. But doesn't mean that the board will do so. It just means you have the ability to do so. But if you're waiting till when the budget is presented and acted upon in either March or April, and it's got to be adopted in May, doesn't really give you the time to do that and do a local law, which is generally like a 2-month process. So that's why it's done this way. And this is a very common practice that's shared across the state through all local governments. And it also gives you some protection should there be an error in the tax cap calculation that is set forth by the state. You're not penalized for it by not overriding the tax cap. So it is a formality, but it also gives the board discretion to act in the future should they choose to do so.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for Brian about that? Okay. Any questions from our student advisors? I kind of explained it quickly to you earlier. Okay. With that, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? That will carry unanimously. And again, the public hearing for proposed local law number 1 will be February 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. Item number, excuse me. Item number 2 is a motion to introduce local law number 2 of 2026 to enact new village zoning code, zoning map, and amend and repeal certain chapters of the code of the Village of Fairport and set the public hearing for proposed local law number 2 of 2026 on February 9th at 6 p.m. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
By trustee Wojtka,
Second.
by trustee Banowski, which opens discussion. So this is just introducing the local law and setting a new public hearing. I just wanted to give an update. I posted an update to this on the homepage of the village website last week. So what is happening, the reason why it's one local law and why we're reintroducing this is as time went on during the period at the end of 2025, there was an additional law that had to be added. That was local law number 4, which got tabled. Local law number 4 was to introduce the part in this law that talks about the outside chapters that are in the general code being moved into the zoning code. So without local law number 4, because it was never brought to the table, it was never introduced, we couldn't enact local law number 3 because they needed to be done in tandem. So since we moved to 2026, local law number 4 never existed because it went away at the end of 2025. We've combined the two. Our planner has worked to combine the two so that it's more concise and it makes more sense all in one action. That's why it's all in one local law number 2. We heard the comments that were made at the public hearing in December, and our planner went back and reviewed the comments and addressed some of those in the code. I wanted to just ask at a very high level if, John, if you would address the seeker question that came up during the public hearing.
Yes, happy to do so, Mayor. There was a lot of dialogue that was and comments that were made with respect to the seeker review that is being undertaken by the board. And so currently I'm working with the village planner to review the details of each of those comments, but from a high level, what needs to occur with respect to this local law is the board is going to have to make a determination of significance. And so what that means, it's going to have to decide whether to accept the village planner's recommendation for the negative declaration that has been proposed. And so as you may recall, that's been drafted in great detail by the village planner. I have reviewed the same and provided my comments to her. that is a prerequisite before the adoption of local law, what is now local law number 2 of 2026. And so there were some questions about the procedure associated with that action and then the two laws that were proposed at the time. And so in discussing it with the village planner, as the mayor indicated, to sort of streamline the process for 2026, the village planner had requested a combination of the two laws. And so what this law does is just combine the other two that were proposed in 2025 with local law number 4 never having been actually formally introduced. And so we just took local law number 4, sort of wove it into the proposed local law number 3 so that the board has a single action before it, which is to adopt the code and then repeal and amend all of the inconsistent provisions that fall outside of the zoning chapter. And so the negative declaration will conform to that modification, and so we will have a single environmental review action to undertake, which will occur before this board decides whether or not to adopt the substance of local law number 2 of 2026, and we will take into account as part of that negative declaration all the comments that have been received to date by the board.
There were 3 topics that were of great concern to, or where we heard the most concern. And what I was just going to ask you if you had a very high level, I don't want you to read the code, but a high level description of the proposed ADU section compared to the current ADU, just at a very high level. The 4th story on the downtown district, and then if we need to touch on RVs at all.
Yes, so the 3 main areas of public comment and discussion amongst this board were the 3 that you've just identified. And so from a high level, based on, and the village planners provided this information over time and at various meetings, but to summarize what the discussions were and the 3 main points that were highlighted is from the ADU perspective, the existing code allows for additional residential structures other than primary structures to be considered in the RE district. And so what the conversion has happened is actually proposed code wouldn't allow for additional residential structures, but we now have a mechanism for ADUs. And so with ADUs, they are permitted in certain districts and they have to meet all the code requirements with respect to bulk density. So, setbacks, lot coverage, and parking, for example. So the code has more fully defined specifically whether or not ADUs are permitted and under what parameters. The second piece is the structure height, which is in our downtown village district. And so the existing code allows for structures that are no taller than 45 feet, but do allow other heights to be approved by the planning board as part of the site plan approval process. So currently our mechanism for reviewing the height of structures in our downtown areas is a site plan review process. That process is now being changed to allow for heights at 45 feet and 3 stories, but also allowing an applicant to pursue additional heights up to 55 feet or a supposed 4th story, but it's an extra 10 feet in height. The mechanism has changed from a site plan review to a special permit process. And so site plan is a planning board mechanism really designed more towards, if you check boxes on certain criteria, then you are entitled to site plan review. A special permit process is a little bit different than that. And so what that really is more of a case-by-case process where the planning board is supposed to look at the unique nature of whatever is being proposed and try to determine based on set criteria that is provided in the new code, whether or not that's in line and fitting with the comprehensive plan and the surrounding area. So what may be appropriate for a special permit on one portion of Main Street may not be necessarily appropriate in another. It depends on what the proposal is, it depends on what the height is, depends on what the building would look like, how it's set back, from Main Street, things of that nature. And so the high level takeaway for that is, a conversion to a special permit process that also would be with the planning board, so they'd have to review that and decide whether it's appropriate to grant. The third piece of the RV code, in simple terms, is currently if you want to store an RV, you need a special permit. You go to the planning board to obtain that. The mechanism has now changed from a special permit process to it being permitted for certain times of the year in the village, as long as it meets other code criteria that are set forth in the new code. And if you don't meet those criteria, you have to go get a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So special permit, as I think the village manager the village planner had mentioned, was sort of you're starting at a yes, but you need more conditions opposed to that. Now it's from a no, unless you go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and get a variance in order to store it outside of the times of year and the other parameters that are set forth in the new zoning code. So those are the three main items, I believe, Mayor, that you've highlighted. And so obviously the details are set forth in the code, and I can answer certainly any questions along with the village planner once she returns to the office.
I was just going to suggest that our village planner is out of the office this week, but she will return next Monday, and I would encourage board members and members of the public, if you have questions regarding this summary that our John just gave for us, that you schedule some time, and she would be happy to discuss it. Her email address and phone number are located right on our website. And if you go to the homepage of the Village of Fairport, there's a link to the location where you can get to her email address. But today is just an introduction. So thank you, John, for giving that summary of the differences that we heard the most about. And does any of the board have any questions? Again, I would ask that you keep it a little bit high level since we're just introducing this tonight. And do you have any questions? I can start with Trustee Briggs.
I think it was pretty good, your explanation, I must say. Thank you, John. Again, with the RVs, our old code, there is no storage of RVs and boats and stuff in driveways. Can I clarify that?
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I'd have to go back and check the specifics of that, but I'm not sure it's as broad as it's all prohibited. I think it is permitted in certain districts under certain circumstances, and with a special permit, you can store additional things. But I can certainly check on the parameters of what actually is allowed currently.
Okay.
Anything else, Trustee Briggs? No, at this time. Okay. Trustee Benoski, any questions?
Just to make sure that I understand is local law 2 would be combines seeker and the adoption of the code. So those would still be two different.
So seeker isn't a local law.
Right.
Yeah, so local law number 2 of 2026 combines proposed local law number 3 of 2025, which was the zoning code update,
Yep.
and then the not introduced local law number 4 of 2025, which was to repeal and or amend the inconsistent town code sections that were brought into the zoning code. So seeker will be a condition that will proceed whether or not you decide to adopt proposed local law number 2. So that'll be a resolution
Okay.
And
first.
just
Trustee
to
Briggs.
help, everybody got a copy of the sections that were moved. One is Chapter 347 called Outdoor Storage. The other one is Chapter 462 called Swimming Pools. So you all got a printed copy here. Those same chapters are posted on our website along with the zoning code map, the updated zoning, and the code itself, the draft zoning code. And these two items, and then I also believe there's a change log that Jill has been keeping that is out there as well. And I know that our clerk treasurer's office was working on updating all the materials in the clerk treasurer's office too.
Okay. And then, while I wasn't here for the meeting, I did have a chance to, follow along virtually, and I've had a chance to review it as well. I know one of the other concerns folks had was making sure that they had enough time to digest what was posted up there. I don't know if we've had any discussions internally about a sort of amount of time or something to make sure that folks feel that they have enough time to to digest what's been posted. Is that what we're hoping to do with the log, or have there been discussions about having that posted with time for folks to review?
I think that my impression from discussions with our village planner is that she created a change document to begin with that talked about what was in the, what changes were made to the original document through this process. And then she updated that as well. So the document didn't change dramatically from what we've had available for the last 6 months. Any changes from that document are included in the change document. So for the example that the RV section still needed to be updated and moved, she included that in the change document. So if you, between when we reviewed this last December and where we are today in January, that change document will tell you what has changed in that time period. However, prior to that, it was the code that we were working through the year. And both, like I said, the updates were that separate sheet that was available last year with the code, and then she's updated that again to talk about everything that's changed in the month time period.
Okay. So, sorry, just to make sure that I understand correctly, what's posted online, in terms of the draft that's there, is the most up-to-date. There is also a separate document that says, here's what has changed
Yes.
since we've been talking. Okay, great. So if somebody clicks on
And
it,
then-
that's what we have.
And then the 2 chapters that were relocated, those are up there as well as the new updated zoning map.
Okay, great, thanks.
If I may, Trustee Briggs, the village manager pointed me to the specific section. So the recreational vehicle, the old code of what is currently allowed is 347-7. So basically, the scheme was they are prohibited unless you meet 5 criteria, meaning if you meet those 5 criteria, they're permitted. If you can't meet those 5 criteria, you can go to the zoning board for a special permit to allow for relief from that section. So that is now converted to you're allowed to have RVs in the village during certain times of the year if you meet certain criteria, and if you can't, you get a variance. And so arguably the scheme is becoming somewhat more restrictive in the sense that special permits are starting from a place of yes, accept, versus the variance is starting from a place of no, you cannot unless you get relief from the board. So 347-7, that is the current section that would govern RVs.
Is it okay if I move on? I'm just checking. Trustee Boyka, do you have any questions?
I just want to thank our village lawyer for providing all this, the detail and the explanation of these 3 topics that are super popular. And I just wanted to ask, it seems to me that the difference regarding ADUs, that the current code that we have in the books is less restrictive than the code we would be adopting. It feels like there's more restrictions in terms of size, in terms of location, in terms of parking and all the other parameters that need to be fixed or whatever. Or
Yeah, I mean, so
complied with.
the current code does not address ADUs. But what we do allow is additional residential structures other than a primary structure to be located in certain residential districts. And so from that perspective, we do have a mechanism that would allow additional residential structures currently. We also, people are not precluded from applying for a building permit and adding on additions or adding other things to their property if it otherwise meets code, right? So generally speaking, an addition on your property, if you meet all the other parameters of setbacks and bulk and density and everything else, you would be allowed to do that, obviously, without oversight from the village, with the exception of the code enforcement officer making sure that you're meeting the building code. you know, with people looking for different living arrangements, ADUs have become more specifically a subset of residential use. And so a lot of municipalities are trying to decide whether or not to regulate in that space, and if so, in what manner. The physical, you know, impact of that is relatively similar for the most part, because you're talking about square footage additions, you're talking about, you know, the total bulk on your site, you're talking about parking, you're talking about all those things, right? Those things sort of cross over different types of residential uses, not just specifically ADUs. And so, in a sense, our code does allow a more, you know, right now it's broader in the sense of just allowing residential structures, and we don't speak to ADUs. And so we are being more specifically targeting, you know, that one thing now in the new code, albeit we are, and the village planner has suggested, you know, a balance to try to strike, you know, competing interests in terms of regulating usage of residential property while also permitting that specific type of use so that it can be introduced if it is appropriate, you know, for the site and for the district. And so, yeah, you are correct in the high level sense that, you know, it is, right now we do have mechanisms that allow similar types of expansion with less oversight.
Thank you.
Sarah, I know you're just getting on board,
I
but
know,
you
I
have,
have a question though.
you have, go.
It's actually similar to Heidi's. And since you addressed it with her question, mine is sort of looking at the next 2 points that the public brought up specifically at that meeting, being the RVs and the structure height issues. Those are now, from my reading of it, look as if they're more restrictive than the original code that's written. Is that correct? The new code.
The RV codes, Bill. So the RV code, there are aspects of it that are certainly more restrictive. There may be certain pieces that are not as restrictive. So
Okay.
I think it's a balance between how the village wants to treat RVs and their storage within the village, generally speaking. I can tell you that from a board oversight perspective, the current code is not as restrictive because special permits, generally speaking, are, I'm going to say, easier to obtain, which is an oversimplification, but generally the law looks at a special permit as saying it is permitted in the district, except we have an oversight to just make sure that if it's unique to the certain area, that a board can regulate its impact on surrounding properties. Going to a variance scheme means it's prohibited, not permitted, except that the board can grant relief from that if it feels the need to do that by weighing a different set of criteria, not only what's in this code, but variance criteria generally. Does it impact the surrounding neighborhood? Is there a feasible alternative for the applicant to pursue other than getting relief and parking it in that particular district? Are there environmental considerations? Is there a self-created hardship? So those are harder to obtain than a special permit would be.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's been very helpful. I'm just going to bring something that's not included in this and talk about, because I've also heard individuals ask for how come short-term rentals are not included in this. And I want to bring to everyone's attention that there are still opportunities for future discussions about short-term rentals in many ways, but they will not be included in this code. There is an opportunity that they may be readdressed at the Monroe County level, which is preferable to the village taking action on it. And we're also in discussion with the town to see if there's something that might be able to be a shared services agreement between the town. But I just wanted to make it clear that it's not addressed in this code, but that doesn't mean that we're not looking to see what's coming in the future and how we address that, or if we will, or if another organization will take care of that, addressing that. So that was all I had. Does anybody have any last thoughts that they need to share? Otherwise, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor of introducing local law number 2? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Then that's unanimous. Local law number 2 is introduced. Our public hearing for it will be set on February 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. Item number 3 is a motion by the village board to declare surplus certain village-owned vehicles and equipment and discard them by means of public auction, sealed bid, or private sale. There are 3 vehicles, and I'm just going to name the name of the vehicle. You all have the VIN numbers on your sheet. So there's from the police department, a 2020 Explorer, from the fire department, a 2000 F-350, and from the fire department, a 2024 F-150. Can I have a motion and a second for this item?
So moved.
By trustee Nazarian,
Second.
by trustee Banowski. Any questions or comments?
Brian, would you just briefly explain why we're getting rid of these vehicles?
Certainly. The police department vehicle, the 2020 Explorer, they just hit their useful life expectancy and exceed warranty, and they generally have issues when we get rid of them. You know, in this case, one is almost 6 years old. That's pretty long and lengthy for a police vehicle, so I'll take the 6 years on it. The fire department vehicle, the 2000 F-350, has just hit its useful life expectancy of 25 years and then some. It's been a long time relief vehicle and a backup when other cars are out of service, and it's time to remove that from our inventory. And then the 24 F-150 from the fire department is just a vehicle that was a loss in an accident, and so that vehicle will be replaced, and that's why you're seeing a fairly new vehicle being removed from our fixed assets.
And, I mean, this is usually all, aside from the accident, things that we plan for as we're looking at our budget and projecting out,
That's
not
correct.
only this year, but the next 3-5 years. So these are planned. I'm assuming these are also related to, some of the invoices that we saw where there is
They are.
there was the acquisition of at least vehicles for the 2000, 2020 and 2000.
Yeah, all of these are in our replacement schedule and vehicle
Okay.
schedule for capital replacement.
Okay.
Trustee Briggs, did
Nope.
you get any more
Sorry,
more questions?
sorry.
No, it sounds like that was answered. I just wondered if there was going to be, if another backup fire vehicle was in the rotation to become the new backup vehicle.
Whatever our oldest one is, that becomes a surplus vehicle at that point. We'll keep it for some time until it kind of gets to the point where it's no longer reliable, and then we'll keep that tradition happening.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Then all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That will be unanimous, and we will move on to item number 4. A motion by the village board to accept the December 2025 financial statements for the Village of Fairport and the November 2025 financial statements for the Fairport Municipal Commission. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
By trustee Wojka,
Second.
by trustee Banowski. Any questions or comments? Thank you for all the work that you do in the office, Megan. We appreciate it, making it easy to read. With that, if there's no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that takes us to number 5. A motion by the village board to authorize payment of audited bills. Can I have a motion and a second? And did Sarah work with you guys?
Yes. Yes,
So-
Sarah and I worked together. We did a little bit of training this month.
Okay, so, well,
I should probably abstain from the, well, no.
no, you don't need to
No.
abstain.
Yeah.
But what we do is the two people who go through the vouchers, they normally will make the motion in the second. I would let Adam make the motion, and either you or Heidi could second it, but you are welcome to second it because you worked on it and you validated them. That was the only reason why I was asking. So can I have a motion by the village board to authorize payment of audited bills?
I reviewed the bills and found all things to be in order.
And all you have to say is, I second that.
Oh, I second that.
Okay, just say it loud so you're,
Am I being quiet?
Yes,
That's
you're
new.
being quiet.
Okay. I second that.
okay.
Do I need to also?
No,
Okay.
no, you don't need to also. So it's open to discussion. Was everything in order?
Yes.
We saw, as I've kind of mentioned, we have the, they had the bid documentation for those, for the vehicles, that we'll be acquiring to replace those. And it was really helpful to not only see the bids, but also an explanation as to, to why we went with certain bids. So for example, in one instance, the lowest bid didn't win, but that was because the bid didn't meet the specs that we had set out for the vehicle. And in many, in those cases, the difference was, I think, less than $1,000. So it also wasn't a sort of like a out of the ordinary cost on there too. And sort of a funny little thing, learned that the fuel depot was experiencing an issue with dispensing the fuel. We saw a few little parts in there where people were putting 25 cents in, and then we learned that's kind of what was happening. So, and the reason I point that out is because Jean and Megan are always quick to get back with any questions that we have, and they were right on it this morning. So thank you.
So Sarah, I'm going to ask the question of you and Heidi together, because Heidi knows this question is coming, and you can be prepared in the future.
Okay.
Is there a number for how much we composted last month?
Yes. Heidi's got it.
Yeah.
We were very careful to.
Yes, I always make sure to get the composting number. So for December of 2025, the Village of Fairport has diverted 2.827 tons of waste from landfills, which is 5,654 pounds of waste diverted from landfills and turned into wonderful compost.
Yeah, a little bit more than average.
Yeah.
Usually around like 2.4, 2.5.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the highest
holiday,
for the year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the highest one for the year, I think.
holidays.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for anyone who's not familiar, the village has a composting program a voluntary composting program for village residents. And if you wish to deliver your organic materials, you can drop them at Potter Park. There's toters there, and you can also deliver them to the DPW at Railroad Street. There's toters there as well. And it's a program that's for village residents. That's a nice ability to keep organic materials out of the landfill. And if you want more information about that program, it can be found on our website, fairportny.com, underneath the DPW page, or there might be a link right to composting. Anything else we need to share? Oh, I have one more question. Were there any invoices from Fisher Associates?
No, there were not.
No.
Okay. With that, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? That will be unanimous, which takes us to item number 6, a motion by the village board to amend the previously approved amount of $60,000 to pay health and dental insurance premiums paid in the month of January to $64,954.61. Can I have a motion and a second?
So move.
By trustee Banowski.
Second.
Ooh,
Who got it?
give it to Heidi.
All right, trustee Wojka?
Oh, is it
Trustee
Tracy?
Briggs.
Oh, is it Tracy? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Trustee Briggs.
Let's
Okay.
pay our bills, yeah.
And for anybody who's new to this, we always put this money aside the previous month, and then we actually pay the amount. Do we need to start raising the amount that we put aside?
Yeah, it's an
Oh,
excellent.
it's right there in front of me. Okay, great. It was edited. So what we're doing is paying the actual amount that was paid in January. And is that for ahead or behind? Prepay. Okay. Just to make sure we have that. All right. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That will be unanimous. Here's the one that I was looking for. A motion by the village board to authorize the clerk treasurer to pay health and dental insurance premiums for the month of February in an initial estimated amount not to exceed $70,000 subject to audit and amending authorization by the village board at their regularly scheduled February meeting.
So moved.
By trustee Maneski,
Second.
by trustee Briggs. And if there's no questions about that, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? That will be unanimous. I'm going to go to committee and announcements, but I need to insert an executive session in here right after the upcoming village board meetings before we take a motion to adjourn. And I just wanted to let everyone know that there'll be, it came up at the very last minute, so I have an executive session that will pop up after we list out the village board meetings. So I'm going to start the announcements and committee reports. I have 2 items from the Fairport Municipal Commission. EV charging rates will be lowering from their current rate. There's not a specified rate exactly yet, but it'll be between 32 and 37 cents per kilowatt hour. Once we have the actual date that will happen and the actual amount, it'll be posted on the homepage of the village website. Fairport Electric will share it via their social media. The village will share it via their social media, and it's available on the app. So anyone charging an electric vehicle has an app on their phone that they pay through, and so it'll pop up before you start doing anything, telling you this is the current rate. And hopefully we'll have that new rate, and it's subject to review. So for now, it may be, they really hadn't determined this morning. I asked Matt Haggerty, how often are you going to review it? And he said it might be quarterly, or it might be halfway through the year, depending on the volatility of the electric markets and our rates from providers. So that came up this morning. I attended the Public Arts Committee meeting, and that was last week. They're moving to quarterly meetings on the second Thursday at 7 p.m. I know they are looking for volunteers from the village, so if anybody is interested, you can go to the Fairport Public Arts Committee page, and I believe there's an email address on there. Their next meeting will be Thursday, April 9th at 7 p.m. They meet in the library. So if you are a village resident or even a town resident and you have interest in public art, there's opportunities there for you to volunteer and help the Public Arts Committee. And at our next work session meeting, we will appoint Pat Rapp as the chair for 2026. So that was in question when we had our organizational meeting, and now it's all set. So I'll direct Megan to make sure that that's on the work session agenda so that we can do that. I think that's all I had. I'll pass it along to our newest member.
Thank you. I received this today. This is data from the Department of Public Works about what they completed in the calendar year of 2025, not the fiscal year. The village, it's a pretty extensive list, so bear with me, but it's worth reading. The village planted 112 trees.
this year, as was everybody, and here working for our residents here at the village. A lot of coordination. When things happen, they don't just happen. There are a lot of phone calls and meetings and, hey, hold on a minute. And there's a kind of like a you-know-what storm that people are wrangling for us. So thank you so much for wrangling that. Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking real good. Another thing, the tree board will be meeting January 21st at 6 p.m. Here in Village Hall. I anticipate at that point, too, we'll also have a nominee for the head of the tree board. We'll be looking forward to even more opportunities to plant even more trees in our village, and looking forward to our next tree planting as part of our Earth Week Arbor Day bonanza. That's all I got.
Tracy.
Well, I'm down here at the end, so I will echo, the accomplishments of the DPW and how helpful the alert system can be. And I also attended the Arts Committee and the FMC meeting. So I thought, I was very curious when I saw it on the agenda, the evaluation for the EV program. And very hopeful for our residents that that's, at least now, it's scheduled to lower. As I said, we still have a range, but I saw that as great news because that is a concern for our residents.
Okay. How are things back in school, student advisors?
Just usual school, test, homework, writing, teachers being themselves, giving us homework. Nothing out of the
We have a new
usual.
teacher over here, so. Real quick question. I always forget, I've asked you, because you're a senior this year, correct? Sean, are you a senior this year? Have you guys figured out where you're going to go this fall yet?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I have not decided, but for me, it's between Delaware or Pitt.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here this evening, and I reminded them at the beginning of the meeting, please go out and sign up for Fairport Alerts so you know when our meetings are. We appreciate you being here. All right. So with that, our upcoming village board meetings, there's a village board work session Monday, January 26th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in the Village Hall boardroom. There's a regular board meeting scheduled for Monday, February 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. And there are 2 public hearings scheduled for both of those, or for that second meeting, the February 9th. So for local law number 1 and local law number 2. And with that, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second. I need a motion by the village board to enter into executive session for discussions regarding proposed pending or current litigation, as well as attorney-client privileged communications.
So moved.
By trustee Wojtka?
Second.
By trustee, who got it? Okay, trustee Briggs? Yep. And all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? So from here, we will go to executive session, and there is no other business except for us to adjourn. We will not entertain any other business. We will go to executive session in the conference room, and then after that, we will exit, come out, and adjourn the meeting. We will not be discussing any other information. So if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. However, if you choose not to wait for us to come back out, I hope you all have a great evening. I'm so glad you all came tonight to join us, and thank you.